Hello everybody, Simple here, and today we are reviewing 3 episodes, and I'm going to be brutally honest. The first episode that we'll be reviewing, I think is like episode 15. No, it's not 15, it's 17, yeah. So, the reason why I didn't do 16 is because I already did it. Icon on the top right if you want to check it out, and if you're wondering why I'm not showing my face, it's because I don't feel like it. But I'm just gonna be brutally honest, I really want to talk about episode 17. And the reason why I'm talking about episode 17 is because, well, it's not the most action-packed, but it's something that I would consider a quote-unquote perfect episode of Miraculous, even if it is not much action, because this is technically Miraculous's true intent of actually being a love story, at the very least. And of course, episode 17 is the end of the trying to confess arc. This whole episode, while it is not perfect, it's not the perfect Miraculous episode. I do believe that maybe still be somewhere there, but it's pretty much close. But my terms of being a perfect episode for Miraculous is a bit more different than maybe yours. So opinions do change. Now, let's begin. And again, this first part is going to be mostly about like episode 17, and I have a lot of things to talk about because, for one thing, this is an episode that I actually watched just recently because it was not out yet. So I do have a lot of stuff to talk about because, to be honest, there is a lot of stuff to talk about. Or at the very least, I don't know, something such and such, I don't know. My opinions on it could just change sooner or later. But the other 2 episodes are actually really good, so I would say stick around if you want. Also, spoilers right here, the last minute to check off. And remember, I think it's safe to say that the later half of season 5 is basically best enjoyed if you actually watch for yourself. So please go watch it, and to be honest, don't let my words actually sway you on to thinking anything else. Have your own opinion. But either way, let's begin. And Jesus Christ, episode 17. Ooh, we have a lot of stuff to unpack here. Oh boy. Adoration is basically the name of the episode of 17. And let me tell you, this is the episode that technically gave me through a loop. This is legit one of the episodes that gave me through a loop. But of course, I would say technically perfect in my eyes because it's not truly perfect. And the reason why is kind of obvious, that it is a bit of a drag because of one certain character. And I think if you watched the season 5 recently, there's one character that really just gets on my nerves, and possibly everybody else, because she acts almost exactly the same, and maybe worse, from episode 1 of season 1, possibly when we first saw her. I think you know who I'm talking about. But either way, let's begin. The episode begins with the mayor and Zoe actually talking on the rooftop. Now, I thought this was a flashback onto like maybe that previous episode that we actually heard of. And while I do think it might be true, I could be misremembering, and this might be a new part of the episode. Either way, if it is a flashback or not, I really don't know. But it could just be a fast forward, or could just be what is happening right now. Because the mayor here is showing his secret chest that he keeps on the roof of the building, right? And just telling Zoe that it's best to not let your dreams die. And that's actually a really good moral, even though it technically has been summed down to this part. I think in terms of the context of this whole episode, it actually works pretty well, honestly. And again, you have to watch this episode for yourself to actually have a better experience, because to be honest, my words cannot describe how much this episode is really. But it's been hinted basically in the very early on in this episode that Zoe does have a crush on somebody. It is somebody that we don't know, possibly. We never knew that Zoe actually has fallen in love with somebody. We can only expect that maybe the person she loves is somewhere like out of country, or possibly in the school. Who knows? Because she never really addresses it. But to be honest, I don't really mind that, because nobody needs to show their true intentions on if they like a character or not, honestly. So that's kind of all I could say in the beginning, so let's continue on. We're back at the same screen I just showed in the beginning of the video, and yeah, so basically the context in this part is that both the 8th graders and the 9th graders, I believe, will choose one representative to go for the end of the school dance. Now, this is basically kind of normal for most middle schools and high school schools, of course. It's technically just prom, right? It's just basically prom. And oh boy, knowing that the Marinette is an 8th grader says kind of a lot that she's almost a high schooler in terms of in the US. I don't know if the grading system is different from France, but hey, at least we know that 8th grade and 9th grade are technically in the same category, because to be honest, 9th grade counts as a high schooler in America. So that is a bit strange. And I don't know if we go even further, but it does seem like the 9th grade, at least in France, after that you go to college, possibly. Now, I don't know for sure. We don't know if there is an actual high school here. And I wonder if we're in Miraculous, we might go beyond just a tiny bit and see them in high school, actual high school. Who knows, right? Either way, this is for the prom, the gala, basically. And Marinette and Zoe are basically chosen as their grade representatives. So right now, they're both planning on to where to put this prom into place. And of course, Marinette, or I think Zoe, possibly. I think it was Zoe. Or could be Marinette, because Marinette said that she wants to have the thing in the Eiffel Tower, but they need clearance. And Zoe's like, don't worry, I can ask my dad, my stepdad. He's the mayor, you know? Or I think it was the other way around, right? And then Marinette explaining that, you know, you can just ask your stepdad that we could just use the, you know, Eiffel Tower for just one day. And it's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? And that's a pretty nice thing. Also, this is also where we actually get to see Zoe's reaction to Marinette's room, because Zoe never really went into Marinette's room before. And to be honest, I'm actually kind of surprised that I never actually noticed this. But yeah, ever since Zoe was here, she never actually stepped into Marinette's room before. She does say it looks nice, and to be honest, it does look nice. And of course, if you could tell, Marinette's room is much more cleaner and a bit more barren than usual. It looks like she does actually clean up a bit. Also, most of her Adrian stuff are still there, but they're either in the chest or just somewhere where the projector screen is, and I don't know where she keeps these projector screens. But for some reason, one just kind of popped down. And yeah. Since Zoe never actually saw Marinette's room, but she does know that she loves Adrian at this point, that Zoe actually kind of now realized how much she actually likes Adrian. And there's a lot of pictures of Adrian on that, you know, projector screen. But Marinette says that she has to clean that up someday. Because, of course, if you haven't noticed from this season specifically, that Marinette does actually kind of tone down her obsession for Adrian, because she now will act like a normal human being, technically speaking, as to comes for love. So that's actually pretty nice. After just going through and almost entering the house of Zoe, which is basically the hotel, I would say, right? Marinette realized that this is also where Zoe lives, but Chloe has an idea. And let me tell you, like, Zoe really handed Chloe's ass to her. And the most disrespectful way is that the whole family's in on it too. Except for the mother, but the mother can just care less. Chloe's trying to get her way to get Marinette out of the building, but Zoe's just kind of protecting her at this point, standing up for herself and her friend. And oh god, I mean, you just need to watch to see this. To be honest, after this, Marinette was surprised. She asks like how did Zoe, like, you know, how is Zoe so, you know, headstrong about it, like standing up to her good sister, right? She's like, it's all because of Marinette. But if you haven't watched the previous episodes, you could technically tell it was all because of Plague. Now remember, Plague and Zoe did actually have a confrontation before, and that was because she was a replacement superhero, thanks to Plague actually motivating her to stand up for her sister, because, you know, it was basically pretty much being bad, you know. I will skip this scene, but please just watch this scene. The amounts of disrespect the whole family kind of gave Chloe after this, or at the very least, hiding that just we're just in on the not the joke, but like just in on it, you know, in on the the plan to basically drop Chloe down a peg. And Chloe truly has no power here, thanks to the very good excuses that everybody gives out this time. Thank God. Oh boy. Thankfully, they did get the clearance. That's all I could say for more of this. But Chloe, and Sabrina were just kind of eavesdropping a bit. We gone to here too, and the plan for the dance is already out to almost everybody. Adrian wants to go to the dance, and while Gabriel agrees, earlier said he wants to get his son's dreams come true, which is first cooking this fabulous dinner. And to be honest, that actually looks really good. But then again, it's very simple, it's like French cuisine maybe, but it's a bit more casual. I don't know, but like Gabriel actually cooks something more than just pancakes, honestly. And of course, when Adrian asks, he says no. But then Natalie just kind of pulled the same card that Chloe kind of did already. Zoe kind of did. Again, I keep mixing up Zoe and Chloe's name because they sound so similar. No wonder the mother gets confused by the other two, honestly, those two. But yeah, Gabriel just kind of gave in because he has nothing to say, because he was kind of proven outright by Natalie that he promised to make his son's dreams come true, right? So yeah, Adrian can come to the dance, basically. Yeah, Lila was here too. Gabriel did actually told Gabriel told Lila. I don't know if I said Lila's name before, unless I said a different name. Jesus Christ, there's just so many characters to keep up track, okay? I've been watching this series for a while, and it's hard to keep track of these characters. But I'm gonna be honest here, it is actually nice to see that Gabriel is still keeping contracts with Lila, because Lila is the biggest supporter that Hawkmoth ever had throughout this point. And Lila's plan is to get Sabrina akumatized, because I think she already saw the hints that Sabrina was very much uncomfortable with this. Chloe was just kind of complaining about like Marinette being here, and then Zoe, right? Lila says that it's Marinette's fault because she's a bad influence on her sister, but Chloe is like, you know what? You're kind of right, but also I hate it that's right, and stuff like that. Now, at this point in time, Chloe and Lila, but mostly Lila, has this plan that they want to go through, but Sabrina says no because it goes through her code, her morality, her personal code of honor, I would say. It's just to make it more simpler, or at least her I don't think morality. I feel like her personal rules. I think there is a word for it, but I'm not so sure. Either way, when she said like, no, please, I'm your friend at that point, Chloe's like, no, you're just an underling. Now Chloe is not afraid to show, or at least say, like what position that this person is at. At further end, it did get escalated a bit more, where the point where Chloe's like, if you're not with me, just go. And then, you know, Sabrina finally goes. But then Chloe plays with her feelings, thinking that she changed her mind, that she wants to keep her best friend. No, she just gave her the whistle because in the past, Sabrina has trouble basically dance in ballet. So she just kind of threw the whistle at her because, you know, that's like the only last thing about it, that she was actually helpful with Sabrina, basically. So yeah, it's pretty sad. Sabrina does get akumatized here, and she does turn back to the invisible girl, but this time she could turn it on and off, although when she turns it off, she's basically more transparent than actual truly there. But now she has the Miraculous of the dog, which is the power of it, which is to recall, basically. This is so relevant to like what Tears of the Kingdom is right now. I'm kind of glad that... No, I'm not gonna make that joke actually. No, never mind. Either way, Sabrina does seem like she's want to be involved now, since to prove that she is best friends with Chloe. Unfortunately, Chloe never showed it. After this scene, we get into this scene, and they just kind of talk about like love and stuff. And yeah, Zoe has a crush. We all know that. But she doesn't want Marinette to find out. Now the thing is, Marinette knows, at least by context clues, or at the very least Chloe says it. Chloe. Zoe, oh god, I need to get my mind in order for these two characters. But Zoe here basically did confirm that she's in love with somebody that she would not be able to see because this is the last year they should see them. So we know she's not out of country. Marinette's like, who is it? And she's like, she doesn't want to say. And then, like, you know, they kind of do, like, you know, bro to bro moment, you know. Well, at least not bro to bro moment. It's more like the, oh, you know, kind of just supporting, like, hey, I support your decision. You should just tell him how you feel and stuff like that. And while Zoe says complicated, you know, Marinette has the most complicated stuff. And I think, yeah, Marinette is the best person to talk about this, even if it is complicated. Now, throughout this whole thing, and maybe you'll see in the background already, that in the very far left, you'll see that Sabrina is actually there. She's technically eavesdropping and will be there to try to frick. Excuse me. Sorry, there's a little interruption there. She was just there kind of spying on them. And the whole plan, and I'll say this right, and the whole plan is basically to frame Marinette for looking bad in front of people. Like she's actually kind of stealing stuff. How? Well, Sabrina does actually find the sketchbook and she's gonna follow them throughout the place. Thankfully, this is very coincidental that the plan does work before I leave her. Now, throughout all of this, these two basically go throughout the whole town, just like talking about some stuff with other people and looking at some good unique designs that Marinette could use. Now Marinette here basically wants to use them as references, so she kind of just draws them on her sketchbook and then later she'll make the dress for herself. And the dress actually looks pretty good. And I think we saw this dress before, at least I believe, possibly in one of the movie specials, but to say the least, it looks pretty much. But there is one scene I want to talk about later. At this scene right here, and this is the last one before we get to the end of the episode basically. Because throughout this it's just kind of a montage, and then there's like some conflict, and then there's a fight, but the fight's kind of pretty short, but the fight's not the main focus here. The main focus is just basically the thing about following your dreams and sacrifice basically. And there's a time and a place. That's the technical lesson. There's a time and a place to sacrifice some stuff basically. But in this part, Marinette basically says, or at least tells Alia. Now, she does tell Alia about the stuff and then secretly tells her that Zoe does like somebody. While Alia says who, Zoe did not tell Marinette about it, so Marinette's not going to say anything about it because she doesn't know. And that's actually a really good thing. Although I am a bit disappointed that Marinette does actually kind of reveal that little secret, but at least it's just with Alia. And at least the secret is not truly there because Zoe kept her mouth shut, thankfully, about that. Unfortunately, to be honest, I would do the same, and I think a few people would do the same to their other closest friend. But of course, hopefully that friend is very trusting. Thankfully, Alia's that trusting friend that she will not tell anybody else, but who knows. Other than that, Marinette is afraid that maybe Zoe likes Adrian. Now, thankfully, she's been through the part where she is super obsessive to the point she sabotages friendships. Almost. So she doesn't do that, but she is a bit more panicked at this point and a little bit more jealous. But thankfully, there is, you know, the thing, you know, the dance to distract her from. And thankfully, Marinette doesn't really do her usual overprotective Marinette things. She doesn't go yandere, right? She actually just acts a bit more normal because she's past that. So thankfully, her character development has improved a lot more. Oh boy, because other than that, we don't want another Chloe on our hands, honestly. Or maybe not Chloe. Maybe more like a Kagami thing? To be honest, the last time she did this is with Kagami, but thankfully they're still friends. Hopefully. Now we're here at the Eiffel Tower, and we kind of skipped the montage here. Chloe is here to actually reveal to everybody that Marinette is a thief because she stole a lot of stuff, right? And try to frame her for it. And before that, Sabrina, while being invisible, did drop the stuff that was invisible into Marinette's bag. Now, how does she turn things into invisible? As long as she holds them, they're invisible. Physically. holds them and physically touches them. So when she recalls them, they'll turn invisible. Anything that she did not touch before, or at the very least, she's not actively touching them with her hands, specifically, they cannot be. And that will be explained later in the fight. But right now, we just have the confrontation, and then Chloe basically just shows everybody about Marinette's quote-unquote horrible deed. By the time Chloe pulls up the flowers, she kind of just froze them, and some of them landed on Sabrina. And Marinette sees this, but nobody else sees this, only because Marinette was actually in eye range where Sabrina is. But Sabrina is hiding behind the side of a building, hiding behind a side of a structure. Jesus Christ, that's actually kind of hard to say, honestly, with trying to say it fast. Either way, everybody's kind of a little disappointed on Marinette. But Zoe comes in and takes the fall for Marinette, saying that she actually did it all. Chloe's like, how dare you trying to interrupt my epic, accusement on Marinette, right? And surprisingly, nobody actually, took that seriously. Surprisingly. Or at least I don't think that's what she said. She said a bit more of a complicated word that I don't think has been... I never heard anybody use that word before. But it does kind of make sense. But at the same time, it kind of doesn't make sense that people just kind of wave that aside. She takes the blame, but of course, that gives some time for Marinette to actually transform into Ladybug. She calls Captain Noir, which, don't worry, everybody kind of runs away once they notice the villain a bit, maybe not too late, but they come when they notice the villain, basically. When Marinette's there, she gotta pull the villain out in the open, knowing that somebody's there. Or at least, maybe they all saw the wind. Because, to be honest, it's kind of hard how they actually saw the villain, even though she's invisible. Maybe the flowers, but the flowers kind of flew away too, so kind of hard about that. But I think it's maybe they noticed when Ladybug started attacking, possibly. I don't know, kind of complicated. After the fight, Marinette does give Sabrina a trinket, and this technically makes sense because the little charm that Ladybug gives, she never gave one to Sabrina yet, so that's actually pretty good. And of course, after the word for Ladybug, we only can only hope that Sabrina actually, goes away from Chloe. She did it before, but maybe this time she might go away from Chloe for good because of how much she just treated her and know Chloe's true feelings onto her, which she never actually hides, which is actually a little sad. But again, could be the blackmail for her father, of course. But it is what it is, and I can only hope that Sabrina actually, changes for the better at this point, because she is now kind of given a bit more light onto the situation now. So basically, close to the end of the episode, we have Marinette and Zoe basically saying their their good night, basically. They're saying their good nights for this whole thing. Now, Marinette does actually come out and says that it's okay if Zoe likes Adrian. And Zoe's like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. Don't let me stop you for loving who you are. And who knows, maybe Adrian will love you too. Would love that you love him. Because, to be honest, he will be happy. And now you could take that out of context if you want. But to be honest, I think Adrian would just like, oh, that's nice. Or at least he now knows there's actually some people who are generally his friends who actually like him for, a bit more than just being an idol and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's kind of weird how Marinette actually kind of relayed that whole thing. But I do get what she's trying to say. That it's kind of good and Adrian would be a bit more happy since, about that. Even though that's kind of weird. It's very weird when I just said that. But either way, Zoe is like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. And then Zoe's like, well, that's okay. And you're right, I should say my true feelings. But Adrian's not the one I love. And Marinette's like, oh, then who? There was a strong silence, and then Zoe just kind of looked at Marinette with a smile. And then, while I will not show that clip, I cannot show you the full clip, and I don't think I can show you the screenshot because I don't think I had it on here. But Marinette later, I do have that reaction though, so give me a sec. With that just a very silent look from Zoe, and that smirk and the little smirk that she gave, Marinette kind of put 2 and 2 together, thankfully. And yeah, I was a bit confused at first because it was never said out loud, but then again, you don't need it to say it out loud in order to have it being a good reveal. This is a good reveal, and the exclamation here actually does make sense. And while some people, including myself, if I was in that position, same thing with Yang and Blake from Ruby, I know I've been stretching this for so long, but for so many times. But unlike with Yang and Blake, where it's been contradicting so many times, and they kind of just force it at the end, but in a good way. Okay, I'm not saying that ship's bad, but for this one, it makes sense. Now, again, Zoe is a side character, an important side character, but she's a side character with Marinette being a main character. Now, it's obvious that the show already kind of has this direction with Marinette and Adrian, which is fine. But for this one, the hints were honestly always there. Every time Marinette actually goes with Zoe, Zoe's mostly always happy around her. And while even though she's at home with Zoe and with Chloe and some of the other characters, she's either just a bit normal, but she always stays quiet, unless she's with Marinette, in which she talks a bit more and can relate more with her. It took me a while, but putting those pieces together, because since Zoe is a side character, an important side character again, but just a side character, it's actually pretty sweet to see that there was a pattern with her. It's a very smart pattern, honestly. And even though Zoe never really shows up that much, I do appreciate it. And my reaction when I realized that, it was just kind of, oh, so that's a thing now. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it, this is a good way, because I realized how much this has technically been in the background that I don't think anybody saw this before. It's a very good twist, don't get me wrong. But to be honest, I kind of wish they actually did get a bit more into it, because I think Zoe appeared in season 4, and we do have some episodes with her and Marinette being together and all that stuff, and they actually do have a very good, strong connection, basically. And Zoe does seem a bit more active and happy around Marinette at certain points, basically, when they're usually together, or at least when they're talking to each other. So the hints are there, but it's kind of almost exactly the same with Julika and Rose, basically. It's kind of like that. You always kind of see those two together, but they never really, you never really put that together. Some people, fandom, actually do ship them, and thankfully that is true. We watched the last review, right? But for this one, it's just really interesting, because Zoe always kept this quiet. But to be honest, it fits thanks to this episode. And given the hints throughout the previous episodes, even though it's not much, it makes sense. There is a criteria on how much I think a good relationship, a relationship plot line that I think that these two characters might be a possible item, is that they're super friendly to each other, not to the point where there's already romantic tension with them, but just a very strong friendship, basically. And of course, some hints here and there. It also depends on the character's status on the show. Marinette being a main character, that's fine, right? You have a bit more responsibility of writing a good love thing, a love plot line for the main character. But for a side character, you could technically just you cannot make everything up on the spot, but you can give smaller hints, because that side character won't be appearing all that much. And that's actually exactly what they did. Now, a lot of other people think that possibly this is not a very good way to do it, or this reveal is unnecessary. But to be honest, I don't think it's necessary, but it's a very good surprise. And of course, I don't think we ever noticed, or at least I never noticed, that Zoe is technically older than Chloe, which is surprising to say the least. You'd think the older sister would actually have more power against the younger sister, but then again, Chloe's a spoiled brat, and of course, not really directly part of the family, so it kind of makes sense in a way. But then again, they're related by another, so I don't know. Either way, it is actually pretty surprising. And then Marinette, after knowing this, was like, okay, yeah, but why didn't you tell me? Of course, Zoe's like, yeah, about that. I was just kind of scared on how you think. But it's actually good to actually, like, say it out loud. Now, of course, it's actually, again, the lesson here is to basically don't be afraid on, don't like, of course, at this point, it's like, don't be afraid to tell your true feelings to somebody else. At least that's for the common sense, because no matter what happens, no matter what their response is, as long as you get it off your chest, you might feel good about it, even if the rejection is a bit terrible. You'll soon realize that it's good to keep it off your chest, because having that bottle up inside you might make things much more worse in the future. And trust me, I know. I've been through that before. Okay, before we get a bit more personal, yeah. If you haven't realized by this point, and I know I've been sitting along with this one a lot, but yes, Zoe has a crush on Marinette. So you say what you will, but I think this was an interesting find. And to be honest, I could technically see it if Marinette didn't really like Adrian that much. But of course, Marinette doesn't swing that way, of course. But she's not really negative about it. And thankfully, that's kind of good. And to be honest, if they actually kind of did the stereotypical, if this was made like a long time before, there would just be a joke about this. And thankfully, Marinette doesn't take this as a joke. She actually takes it personally. And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, like, it's good that you actually say that, and thank you for understanding and stuff like that. I wish more people were actually like this, just a bit more understanding. Therefore, we might have less and less problems in the world in terms of maybe personal relationships, basically. But for right now, they're just kind of friends. I do believe that possibly Zoe does still love Marinette in that regard, like, and they want to be in a relationship. But she is respectful on Marinette's wishes, because she does now know, at least to the true intent, on how much Marinette loves Adrian. And I, for one, do support it. And to be honest, that ship's actually pretty interesting. I don't know if people actually did that ship. Or maybe some people did a what if ship if these two actually work together. But of course, I don't know if Marinette's truly possibly bi, but we know that she loves Adrian for the most part, and we do know from the past that she loves Kim, so most likely she's not really. But hey, who knows? The writers could just put some bullshit in for all I care, honestly. And that might be more possible with Disney taking the reins sooner or later. Either way, that's not actually it for the episode. There is one more. After that small talk, and then after Zoe basically used the same words that Marinette gave to her, Zoe says that it's best to just let it out. Just do it. Without hesitation, basically. Just do it. Just do it. And you know what? She finally did. And I thought this was just another daydream, but thankfully it is not a daydream. Marinette finally says to Adrian with straightness as in just straight out, not that type of straightness, but like just straight out with no hesitation, even if it is not the way that she envisions it. She just says, I love you. Finally. And Adrian just accepted it. And to be honest, we all know Adrian actually accepted Marinette already. He's just kind of waiting for that part and hoping that she does love him back in that regard. I don't know why Adrian doesn't really say this, but then again, kind of showed, and he kind of did play it up. He basically showed his love for Marinette through physical means. And physical as in like going out in technical date, that lunch scene basically from a few episodes ago. Either way, they were about to kiss. It was like, oh, so this is the episode that we actually got some comfort. So this is the episode where they actually finally got together. No, not really. It's no. It's no. It's not. Because why? I'll show you why. And Jesus Christ, this scene kind of scared me. I'd never seen this character being so menacing before. This actually scared me. This scene, it was just kind of just pitch black, and it kind of scared the hell out of me when I saw Gabriel just menacing, and he just says, no. Just flat out no. But we will see Gabriel later. He was basically behind a window, basically just saying no. I don't know, but like, Adrian did get a feeling, and he kind of backed out from it. And then yeah, we kind of just left with that little hanger. We do know that these two love each other that much, but unfortunately they never got that first kiss yet. And oh boy, Jesus Christ, if Gabriel still has, even though it's not that strong, he still has that control over Adrian. And Adrian says like he feels weird. Could that be a sign that he's a sentient monster this whole time? No, possibly not. But hey, it's kind of sad that we never got that first kiss yet. So yeah, Gabriel Gress here. You could just put like the Prowler meme on this one actually, because this is a true Prowler. This is a Prowler meme moment, honestly. Jesus Christ, I never actually saw that yet. I might actually do this then. I don't know, maybe in the future. But other than that, that's basically the end of episode 17. And Jesus Christ, that's 36 minutes. Oh boy. I cannot wait to talk about the others. Episode 18. Episode 18, Emotion. Now, this is technically the first episode that we get for I think for these two characters to finally kiss each other, like from the last episode. I really don't know, but for this episode, it's a bit interesting. I would say this is also an episode, this one and the next one, are just for you to actually just watch for yourself to have a better experience. But these two episodes technically relate for two characters already, or at least maybe just one character. I might be misremembering because I saw this one and the next one, episode 18 and 19, basically a bit more earlier than episode 17 because these two were released with the Kagami art, basically, that they were doing. So, here we go. So we begin the episode basically with Marinette and Adrian getting some ice cream, and they almost got their actual first kiss until Adrian basically just, just like he has to go. Marinette later sees Adrian walking to the car, but with her eagle eyes, which to be honest, I think that makes sense since Marinette has a habit of actually seeing things from afar and very observant. Sees that Adrian in the car was kind of having a very much of a neutral, stern face on, which is a bit weird for her. Aya was here basically when I think Marinette actually called Marinette called Aya to come over and have a little chat because she thinks that something suspicious on with Adrian. Aya does make fun of her because Marinette's supposed to know how Adrian works. Marinette's like, yeah, haha, very funny, but I don't do that anymore. And now it kind of is a bit weird. It's not like him, But Aya's just like, just kind of get over it. Maybe he's just not feeling right or something like that. Or maybe because of his father. Because you know about that, right? At least that's what I think. Aya's not really that worried. Which, to be honest, kind of makes sense, but for Marinette, it also makes sense that if somebody seems a bit out of character to who they are truly, then maybe. And knowing that Marinette, basically, we all know Marinette's like true purpose on love, that she wants to know everything about that person. And while she did die down that a bit, she is kind of a little suspicious on Adrian now. Because, this is a bit new to her. And she kind of wants to know. Aya did say it might be a secret that he's keeping, but Marinette's like, that can't be right. Something like that, Later we meet up with Kagami after practicing, and she's talking with Lila. Now Lila and Kagami basically have this chat with Lila being like, I'll be your best friend and stuff like that. A little the same Lila manipulation, Aya does fall for it, but then again, you can't blame Kagami here. Because later on, at least the next episode, and I think throughout most of Kagami's episode, is that she doesn't really know, and she's really pretty much new to the idea of friendship, basically. Yeah, she's again new to the idea of friendship because just like with Adrian, Legal Guardian basically kind of like pushes her aside and focusing on more of duty. In this case for Kagami, it's just basically training, right? Lila, with being manipulative self, basically tries to get Kagami and try to be as best friends, and then try to scheme with her about regular Marinette stuff, basically, Of course, Kagami is a little bit oblivious, but I think at this point when when Lila says something about Adrian, Kagami kind of dismisses it because she knows that Marinette likes him and stuff like that. That's all I could technically say. Again, I don't remember much of this conversation, but my excuse is that this one's pretty short, and it does come into play later in the episode, but it's not really much explained. It's just Lila giving some false thoughts into Kagami's head. There's some sort of very important business ball dance that they're going through, with all the kids going through one room, basically, with the gender split ones, you know, to dress up for the dance. The adults are going to the other side, basically. They're going to sit on top and watch the kids dance and have a bit of a business chat while the kids enjoy themselves. Unfortunately, Chloe's here too. You can see that in the background. I think Zoe is here, but I think, yeah, if I remember, Zoe is here, but Zoe gave Marinette the pass card to actually continue on, basically. So, like, she can be with Adrian. That's nice of Zoe. And knowing the context for the previous episode now, it's kind of funny how that actually works, you know? But then again, maybe it's just my thoughts. I'm not going to explain it further. If you haven't noticed, Adrian and Kagami at this point were basically kind of forced to be together, right? Because it says there's supposed to be an item thing, you know? Kagami is just kind of saying to Adrian that this is all just for dance to please our parents. But Adrian says, like, maybe we should, like, try to, you know, break free of our parents' influence and all that stuff. Now that, my friends, is a bit weird on why Adrian says something like this. And he says it maliciously. But Jesus Christ, it's kind of weird. It's like Adrian's not himself. I must let you know that almost everybody in the whole ballroom is wearing masks, and even though technically some of these characters should know who the other is, we're just gonna go with logic. This is like a masquerade ball, right? Like, you know, the Romeo and Juliet thing, where like the masquerade ball, everybody wears a mask, have some disguises, right, to make sure that they don't seem that recognizable. But to be honest, even though it kind of works, it also does not work, because hair is all that's all I can say. Just the hair. Marinette tries to walk up to Adrian here, but then Adrian kind of grabbed Marinette and throws her off to the side, revealing herself, right? As in the face mask just dropped. However, it is not Adrian. And while you cannot really see it here, it's basically God, what's his name? Adrian's cousin. I forgot who his name. What is his name again? Let me check. Felix. It is Felix. Yeah. Okay, listen. You can blame me if you want, but this episode again was like shown off, but much more earlier, and of course, he never really appeared until at this point. So you can't really blame me for that. Okay? But yeah, Felix. It's just Felix, and Felix, of course, he shows that he has the Peacock Miraculous, and it transforms in front of everybody. Why? Because why not? And then he gave himself a Senti Monster, and the Senti Monster, well, before we get to that part, let me show you what he looks like. It does seem like with the Peacock Miraculous, there's a habit of changing people's color palette, their skin, their hair, even their eyes. So yeah, I think that's a trend for the Peacock Miraculous. You just kind of change colors, you know. Now I don't remember what his name is. I don't know what his villain transformation name is, but he is talking to Gabriel, and then the Senti Monster he pulls out is basically the moon. He made an artificial moon, an artificial red moon, and with a snap of his fingers, he can make everybody disappear. Anything the light touches is dead. Well, not dead, but they transported somewhere. So basically, whoever's under the light of the red moon, with a snap of a finger, you disappear. This is technically like Thanos, right? But the thing is, as long as you're under the sun, and if he snaps his fingers, you either disappear or you can reappear depending on what he wants. And it's by intention. So basically, Felix got the power of Thanos and just kind of snaps everybody in the room and they all disappear. That's about it. But also, he did save one person. He saved Marinette because Felix knows that Adrian loves Marinette, so he's gonna keep her safe. And by keeping her safe, he just, I don't have the screenshot, but he just throws her into the dumpster so she can hide from the red light, because he does know his power, and if Marinette stays in the red light, she'll disappear if he snaps her fingers by accident. Now, Felix's goal is to liberate everybody from control, and that means liberate all the adults, make them all disappear, have the kids run free. But when the kids basically betray his ideals, he snaps them also. And he's doing this all for Adrian. He loves his cousin. Unfortunately, yeah, he just loves his cousin, and he wants nothing in the world but for the people he actually shares his feelings with, which is with Adrian, with Kagami. Kagami didn't really disappear, she kind of just somewhere else. I don't know exactly what happened to Kagami, honestly. I think she just reappeared because, you know, Adrian asked. It's like, I did save one person. But then like, oh, don't worry, I saved your girlfriend later. But fast forward that because I do have a screenshot. Marinette, this is technically maybe the second or third time that we see Marinette very angry. That she did technically fail on protecting everybody else. And of course, first part was that she's very angry that everybody disappeared. And she kind of failed on rescuing everybody in that part. But she's also mad, and this is more on the personal level, that Felix impersonated Adrian. But of course, later Adrian does tell Felix tells the full story on how this meant to be, and then we see Adrian's flashback later. Don't worry, Adrian's still safe. Just, we don't know where he was, basically. But yeah, Ladybug here is just very angry, and again, this is like, I think the second or third time she got very serious, and she's actually trying to hit for a knockout, basically. Not kill, just a knockout. Yeah, she still has some restraint, unlike Cat Noir, but like, it is what it is. I think it's understandable. She technically has more experience and more level-headed, but yeah, she's just very angry. At the very end, while Ladybug failed to convince Felix to basically stop all of this and turn everything back to normal, she used her lucky charm, but her lucky charm gave out nothing. Specifically nothing. It's just nothing. The magic charm didn't work. Felix was just kind of revelating on the fact that Ladybug cannot beat him. But this is technically like Marinette's, or at least Marinette Ladybug's like smart plan here, and that the thing is that she kind of puts everything in her mind. Nobody else is here, and she does technically know. And I don't remember exactly, but I think Felix told her at the very least. But if not, Marinette knows that deep down, Felix will see the error of his ways and will fix everything back to normal by himself. Because she cannot really force him. She tried to convince him, but she can't. So the only thing is to trust in Felix. And after this, Felix snaps his fingers and Marinette Ladybug disappears. Basically for good. We're back with Kagami, and then Adrian kind of appears out of nowhere, and he's kind of wondering where is everybody. Because after this, after Marinette was gone, after Marinette / Ladybug is gone, Felix, I think, he snaps back Adrian and Kagami back to the world, basically. And they're wondering what happened. For Adrian, Adrian basically got snapped before. And he's just kind of wondering, why is everything red? Where are we? Why am I in the middle here? Where is everybody? And Kagami was kind of just ready to beat the shit out of Adrian, because the last time she saw Felix was that she looks like Adrian. But Adrian says his piece, and then, we got peaceful from there. after all these people met up, Adrian forced because like here's the thing, after Felix told these two that his true purpose, they want to know that did he save at least one person? No, because they all gone against him and they were all afraid and never saw the quote-unquote truth that he wants. But then Adrian says like, did you do this to Marinette too? And he's like, no, she's safe. She's supposed to be right here. And then they gone back to the dumpster where he left her. Unfortunately, Marinette's not there. Adrian and Kagami were getting pretty much a bit more peeved. Adrian asks him one more time to bring Marinette back. And Felix snaps his fingers to bring Marinette specifically back, but Marinette does not reappear. And here's the thing. Thankfully, the power only works if the person specifically is there. So if they transform, so basically it does mean that if the person transforms into a hero. So if Marinette transforms to Ladybug, Marinette's no more, Ladybug is there. Specifically, the person needs to have that person there. Specifically, is very much a monkey's paw. If that were to happen, if it just brings back Marinette, it would just be Ladybug and they'll be all confused, but then put the things together. Thankfully, by the plot, it doesn't really happen, but of course, it is a monkey's paw with that power. Adrian and Kagami were a little bit more stressed out, and they were a bit more angry on Felix. And Felix got a bit more worried. And then the only way to actually make amends is to listen to what Adrian and Kagami want. And the thing is, what they want is everybody to be brought back. And therefore, there might be a chance for Marinette to come back as well. Thankfully, he did this because he said it again. His original intention is not to make everyone miserable, specifically his cousin. He just wants to make him happy. So, he just snaps everybody back. Problem solved. The whole thing resolved itself. There's no Miraculous Ladybug needed. And technically everybody went back to things they were, but Felix gave a very interesting lore drop, maybe? Because he is very sad that his plan didn't work, and he almost messed everything up with his new powers, because he almost made Adrian hate him. The only living relative that actually he matters the most. And the reason why he made the red moon was because it was a tribute to his sister. And sister, you may ask? Yes, sister. A sister that we never heard of to begin with anywhere in the series. Could this be the start of Adrianette? The female Adrian? Maybe? Who knows? We never know the sister's name, but we now know that Felix has a sister on his side of the family, and she's dead. Or hospitalized. Or in stasis. Who knows? It's any one of the three. It could be just another Gabriel Gress thing. Who knows? Felix basically went home to his mother, basically, and actually hugs her, because at this point, he kind of had a change of heart. I would say that he actually learned about the value of a life, but possibly it's very confusing. But at least he's hugging basically his mom, or aunt. I think his mom, yeah, his mom. We do have one thing. Now, what actually happened here, at the very least, is a bit strange, because we kind of got to this scene, and it seems like this scene was basically shown off before. Adrian trying to step up to his father, basically saying that he doesn't want to do this anymore. And then Gabriel's like, don't worry, yeah, I get it. I think that's the thing. But yeah, I really don't remember. This is the only part that really confuses me, but we do know at the very least, but then again, we know from the last episode that Lila and Gabriel are basically in cahoots with each other. Or at the very least, it seems like it. Lila called Gabriel one last time, but Gabriel's like, you failed me a few times already. We cannot be talking anymore because business and stuff like that. Unfortunately for Gabriel, Lila is in front of his house and she's gonna storm in there. But we'll never see that. It's just gonna get on hold basically. And that's about it. So, on to the next episode. But before that, I just have a few things to say. We do have a bit more lore when it comes to Felix, but that's kind of all I can say. As for the relationship with Adrian and Marinette, didn't really have that much resolve yet, but the thing is, maybe we don't need to. But again, for the most part, it was just Felix being the imposter, which is just basically the whole episode. But I do think that this is a technically overpowered ability that anybody under sunlight or under the red moonlight and you snap your fingers, they can just disappear. You can specifically choose who to disappear, or you can just choose everybody who's under the light. As long as the light touches them, they can control it. But they can also snap back things to reality. But the thing is that you need to specifically want that person to still be there and specifically want that person to come back. For example, like Marinette and Ladybug. Specifically, these two people are separate in his eyes. It could be different if he knows that Marinette and Ladybug are the same person, but since he does not, the power doesn't let him. Thank God. Otherwise, we have a lot of big plot holes in that case, so yeah. So on to the next episode, episode 19, the last episode I'm going to be revealing for this video, and it might be another short one, because this is more specifically on Felix and Kagami. So here we go. This episode in particular, it might look like in a different language, and to be honest, it's not translated yet. By the time I actually had this episode in my archives at the very least, or at least when I saw in the archives, it was basically in this language, and it has English subtitles. However, the episode is English dubbed, so this is English dubbed with English subtitles with the sub lettering, at least to what I remember. These are the screenshots I have, and these are actually pretty much relevant, so here we go. Technically, this is not how we start off the episode. We start off the episode with Adrian and I think Marinette talking to each other. But we do see the progress on the decay on Gabriel, and damn, Gabriel not looking so good. As you can see, the arm decay basically kind of went up straight to his midsection at this point. And that would be including his heart, you would say. Now, the power here is this is his plan. He's going to use the power of the Kwamis' magic, draining their magic, trying to, and using their magic to reverse the effects. And it did work for a tiny bit, but once the Kwamis were out of gas, it kind of just spreads back. So there's no permanent healing. He could, but he also can't, basically. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Kagami's mother is here. Kagami's mother and Natalie, of course, because Natalie's also here. They're here to see if the process of Gabriel being healed is possible. Unfortunately, not really. But Kagami's mother does actually promise that. Okay. Promise that wants Gabriel to promise specifically. I kind of blinked out my mind there, but Gabriel promises to Kagami's mother that specifically he will control Adrian again and seize all the miraculous for the wish, basically. Kagami's mother does actually accept this, as the promise is that her daughter Kagami and Adrian will be together at the end if she helps him. So basically, we're just kind of meet up with here. Nothing truly important here, but Marinette is basically kind of talking to Adrian Kagami here, and this is really after the fencing class, as you can see here. Marinette was invited to Adrian's house, and Adrian introduced his father to Marinette, even though they met each other already. But just to get to know each other, Gabriel does ask him how's practice, and he said, "It's fine, it's fun, but I brought Marinette here because so we can spend some more time together." I think at this point, Gabriel basically is happy that Adrian's happy. But then he tells Adrian to leave the kitchen and he wants to talk to Marinette personally. And Adrian's like, "Okay. Like, hope you guys got along after this." Trust me, they didn't really. Adrian went back to his room talking to Plague, and then Adrian kind of realized that he kind of screwed everything up there. So, Gabriel talks in the metaphor of food, that some foods belong with some foods, but not every other food belongs to other foods. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to say, because that's what Gabriel technically always says as well, that you can put two foods together to make something good, but sometimes if you put these two foods together, they might taste terribly, and that's how he kind of goes with it. And they kind of make this analogy, and then later Gabriel does actually kind of went out that Adrian's destiny is to be with somebody else, not you. At this point in time, Gabriel is a bit more fed up with like Marinette here, because she's been with Adrian for so long and Adrian kind of has a connection with her. So Gabriel's trying to defy or like cut off the connection, basically to belittling her. Marinette technically doesn't really get to affect this in her mind, but at the very end, she does stand up for herself basically at the end of this conversation, which surprises Gabriel, but not that much. Before leaving, because Gabriel told her to leave, she runs to Adrian's room and hugged him for one last time before she actually leaves the house and says that she'll never abandon Adrian. But then before she leaves, she pulls off a Gordon Ramsay on Gabriel, saying that his pancakes are old-fashioned, tasteless, and nobody makes them like that anymore. It's an old-fashioned recipe, and to be honest, it does make sense. Marinette is a baker girl, and of course, pancakes is a type of pastry as it uses flour, and of course, she knows how to cook. She's very creative. And she knows what people actually likes because, you know, she also, again, she is part of a business, the bakery business. So she does know. Man, technically speaking, it's not exactly a Gordon Ramsay reference. If I would be so, like, blunt later, like, if I'm being so blunt, this is very similar to a manga that I read in my manga class, which is a manga about a guy who doesn't really want to be a professional chef, but technically kind of has to because of his father's competitiveness and belittlement of him. And basically, the guy, even though he doesn't exactly like to cook, he knows how to prepare food in the correct way, and he actually shows the specific ways on how to prepare that food. This is technically this joke is technically a abridged reference to that, and to be honest, man, next thing you know, Marinette says that Gabriel's pancakes were freaking raw. And to be honest, I would not be surprised. Gabriel's not the best cook. And I think Marinette kind of knows that. Also, one thing. Just like Gordon, she doesn't really need to taste the food before she criticizes. Because Marinette is a baker girl, she knows how pastries work, and pancakes are a type of pastry. I would assume so because it's made of flour. So yeah, she's just that good. She's just that good. She's basically the Gordon Ramsay of pastries. Jesus Christ. I'm actually pretty shocked that she actually stand up to Gabriel, an adult. A high profile class adult. And she just kind of talked him down like that. Gabriel was pretty surprised too. Even Adrian, but he kind of smiled. Even the butler was surprised. And you know if shit's going down with the butler, the bodyguard, being shocked, you know? I'm a little sad we never know the bodyguard's name. He's such a good guy, honestly. Marinette, a bit later after this, Marinette kind of panicked because she now realized who was she talking to. But don't worry, Tiki kind of encouraged that. She kind of said that that's good. It's good to stand up to things that you know it's wrong. and Tiki was there to hear everything basically. Unfortunately, Adrian doesn't know the exact context of the, you know, of the conversation, but he kind of trusts Marinette on this, so yeah. So moving on. Oh yeah, this is Kagami's mother again. She got akumatized again as the giant, but now she can multiply herself, and I think she's also invincible, maybe? I'm not so sure. But of course, this time she's not connected to the horse body. She now rides a horse, and now she can multiply herself. And she kind of kidnapped Kagami here. But guess what? Felix is back, and she rescues Kagami. But Kagami didn't really take this too lightly because she thinks that Felix is a villain. And truth be told, I won't blame her. But Felix like, no, I'm on your side. Listen, I'm not working for any of the villains. I'm just here to help. But of course, Felix doesn't really trust Ladybug and Cat Noir specifically too. So Felix here, just by this second appearance with his powers, he technically, involuntarily, and not really outright stated, but with context in this is the first anti-hero of the series. A very good role, to be honest. He does things for the greater good, but it's technically more for a selfish reason, unlike with Gabriel Gress, which is just the bad actions justify the means, basically. For Felix, he knows from right and wrong, but he mostly just kind of pushes it on for his own selfishness. As long as it benefits him, he'll do good, basically. So he's not really truly there to help Ladybug and Cat Noir. Also, the one thing is that if he does meet up with Ladybug and Cat Noir, he would have to give up his Miraculous, which he does not want to. Anti-hero. At least that's what I think an anti-hero is. Just let me know in the comments below if you know if I'm saying it right or wrong. What do you count as Felix as an anti-hero? Who knows? But like, just leave a comment down below if you believe that he might be an anti-hero. But just this one time, he will help Ladybug and Cat Noir here to be as a distraction. A chase ensues, and of course, the akumatized villain basically has the power to actually pick up scent. So they know where these guys are, but they have to specifically know where this person is by the following of their magical scent, I should say. Magical scent, or is it just scent? Maybe it's just scent, but I don't know. Visually seeing the smell. Smell-o-vision. Maybe. Who knows? Unfortunately, since she was following Felix the whole time, Felix plucked every feather from his fan, and it kind of tracked his scent almost everywhere. Like he's everywhere at once in a cluster of everywhere, even in the sky. But that was his plan, to distract them long enough for Ladybug and Cat Noir to have a plan. With the akumatized villain basically distracted, Marinette, Ladybug and Cat Noir followed Felix and Kagami, basically having this one moment to basically have Felix hand over the Miraculous. Now, while Felix was about to give it to them because they're superheroes and he was caught, Kagami protected him. She says, while she does not know Felix's true intentions, he did save her and he did help them. So maybe, just maybe, give them a chance. Give him a chance, right? And they agree. Kind of. I think at this point, Felix kind of either just jumped off, or he transformed, then jumped off, and then kind of went out of nowhere. They kept Kagami safe, and then now Ladybug and Cat Noir will basically defeat the villain. I don't know exactly what happened to the fight, but after they defeated the villain, she actually gave Kagami's mother the charm, and she's actually kind of happy. And then of course, like, she's grateful, and then she'll take care of it. But of course, since we know that the mother is aligned with Monarch, she kind of puts it away somewhere else, not on her person. But she does tell Gabriel about everything that happened. And of course, she'll possibly give the charm to Gabriel to see if he can do anything with it. But This is only because Gabriel promised Kagami and Adrian to be together. And Gabriel, of course, knowing this, will try to not break that promise. With the whole people, with like some parts of the family, sadly, the bodyguard's not there. It's just Gabriel, Natalie, and Adrian. They were just talking over a good meal, technically speaking. And of course, later, Gabriel, basically with a smug look on his face, says to Adrian that he is basically onto a assigned relationship, not an assigned marriage, but an assigned relationship with Kagami, and he doesn't want to see Marionette again. Adrian sadly technically has to accept this, but as a sign of him being very, very upset, and he's almost very angry with his father, he kind of just says he lost his appetite and he just walks away. Natalie was pretty much angry with this, but Gabriel was just kind of sitting there being all smug about it. After a talk with Marinette on the computer by voice chat, and then later talking to Plague privately, that's kind of where we end the episode. I don't know exactly what the exact conversation was playing here, but yeah. But before we end off the episode, we basically got Felix and Kagami basically watching together in the theater. Now, Kagami was just kind of surprised, but did actually ask why did Felix help her. And Felix says is that, well, we share the same goal and hardship, basically. That's kind of the summary I could give. But this is technically a hint to Felix specifically that Felix has an attraction to Kagami. Because Kagami, even though Kagami barely knows the guy, she does protect him at that moment, in the sewer. So Felix kind of had that little attraction towards her. Would these two be a couple? Possibly. But that's technically where we're going to end the video, and that's where we're going to end the reviews. Oh yeah, that part was just the post-credit scene. Almost. Post-title credit scene? Whatever. Either way, that's it for the review. Overall, I really do love these 3 episodes. And while the third one, episode 19, is technically on the weaker side, as it is a bit confusing, we do know that Felix is a anti-hero at this point. This episode 18 is a bit mixed to me. While it did show a good amount of power and the limitless potential that the Peacock Miraculous has compared to the Butterfly Miraculous, which, to be honest, I think the infinite possibilities are still there. I just think technically it's a bit more limited, as you have to imagine the creature, the Senti monster. But at least we now know that the Senti monster can be a moon. So yeah. Episode 17 is basically maybe the only episode that I actually truly like. And I thought these 2 episodes were interesting. Episode 17 was the most interesting out of these 3. So yeah. So how would I rate these episodes? I think I'll rate episode 17 basically maybe a 9 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10. The reason why I put it so high, because even though there's not much action, it does basically show a very good twist that I think not a lot of people would actually know, but since because of the stage and the hints that Zoe has for Marinette, it makes sense. Also, Zoe's status of being a side character doesn't really help much with this case, or the writing. But since she is a side character, with the little interactions that she has with Marinette, you can tell that she treats Marinette much more different than everybody else, even if it is a bit slight, very small. It's still there, and I do like it. Now, if Zoe was a main character, I wish there were more. But since Zoe is a side character, I can kind of pass this. And besides, Marinette does not have any romantic interest in Zoe. But when she found out, she was perfectly okay with that. She is surprised, but she's not like disgust or why or like I wish you said that sooner because I would have changed my mind because of what happened later. And to be honest, we all know that Disney would actually do something like that. But thankfully, Disney did not have any control with this whatsoever just yet. So thankfully, we have that plot line over. I actually do like it, and that's kind of the reason why. Mostly because of Zoe. Zoe basically improved a lot in this one. And maybe this is not the last time we'll see her, but I do believe that this is basically a good reveal, even though it's not exactly necessary. This does explain Zoe's not strange, but increased friendliness around Marinette. And I can actually see that throughout the other episodes as well when she appears and when she and Marinette interact sometimes. She is a bit more talkative with Marinette, and she mostly shares a bit more stuff with Marinette compared to everybody else that she considers as friends. She trusts her more. I think she trusts her more, and she talks to Marinette in a different engagement compared to Marinette's other friends. And I can actually see that, basically. And it's actually pretty much noticeable if you actually look much more deeper into it. And since I now remember most of that, it's pretty much a very good like hints that she might actually have that personality, preference towards Marinette, or not preference, I don't know the right word, maybe have a crush on Marinette, but it's not like blatantly out there, right? It's not blatantly out there. It's been kind of hidden, pretty much. And this episode kind of proves that Zoe does know how to keep a good secret and keep her feelings under control at some points, basically. Not exactly in this episode, since this is very close to her side, right? So she kind of had to act like she had to protect something and hide something from Marinette, right? But I really do like it, and Jesus Christ, I think this is like the best I have actually seen, and I think this is the first time I actually saw a side character, a main side character, falling in love with a main character, basically. No, that's not true, actually. I saw that multiple times, but like, this is actually a much more better way. It's not the main focus, it's just in the side, but the side shows some hints, and only a few people who are super observant would actually see it. And of course, it's not forced. It was there technically the whole time if you put two and two together, and with the context of this episode and how much interaction with Marinette she has in this one compared to everything else in the series and other people, you can tell that her actions here are different. That's why I gave this episode basically a 9 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10. The reason why I would say maybe I will downgrade it to 8.5 is because specifically Chloe is annoying, and this is maybe the most bland conflict I have actually seen. But it is what it is, and it's just my thing. I do think that maybe the secret reveal at the end, but Zoe's character growth, and not to mention Marinette's character growth, because Marinette doesn't go full overprotective psycho like she did before when with Kagami and Adrian. Thankfully. Or Chloe and Adrian. Basically, she's not overprotective anymore. She actually learned from that mistake. And she doesn't want to jeopardize that relationship like she did with possibly quote-unquote Chloe or any other person beforehand, like Kagami. Whew. So yeah, so episode 18, I'll rank it like maybe a 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. I would normally might have put it like an 8.5 out of 10 as well, but I would say 8 out of 10 because for one thing, it is a little tedious, but the plot twist, you don't really actually notice until it is Felix. It's a very good thing that both Felix and Adrian look almost exactly the same and could be exactly the same, but that's the one thing. The twist was pretty good. Felix being the imposter was also pretty good. The power was really good. The lore drop was super confusing, and I don't know if it's necessary or will be brought upon later in the series. But yeah, it was just a very good episode, a very fun episode. Even though the beginning did kind of drag along a bit, knowing that Felix was just here the whole time impersonating Adrian for who knows how long. Yeah, it was just a fun time. Episode 19 is just a very mixed feeling episode for me. I do believe that since Felix is now a anti-hero, that's like a good thing. We do need at least maybe now an anti-hero to make things more interesting, right? And knowing how far Gabriel's body is right now, he does not have that much longer to live. And it kind of explains because his whole body is going to be decaying soon. But the reason why that I would say I put this episode on a 7 out of 10 or 6.5 out of 10 is because the action, maybe? I don't know. This episode didn't really click onto me. And it does seem like Gabriel kind of just went backwards. But it also seems like Gabriel was not really in control of the situation. It was more so Kagami's mother being in control and very, very demanding. Oh boy. So yeah, I think I really truly would give this episode like a 7 or 6.5 out of 10. Because Gabriel doesn't seem to be the big bad here. It was mostly Kagami's mother, which to be honest is a bit strange. But we do have that small cliffhanger where like Gabriel is not going to try to have Lila involved anymore. But who knows? So yeah, that's it for the review. Overall, these 3 episodes are great. And I would recommend you guys to basically watch these 3 episodes on your own time. And these 3 episodes are best enjoyed with you actually watching them and not having my words saying things out loud, saying things here, because my words could make these episodes maybe a bit conflicting on maybe like how other people say. But I do like these 3 episodes. I do recommend people to watch these 3 episodes because these are good if you're still along for the ride for Miraculous. Episode 17 is a very good episode, at least to me, in terms of a character development point for Zoe specifically, basically, and how much Chloe is dunked down so much. Yes, that was basically the only good thing about it. Chloe basically getting her comeuppance over and over and over again. But to be honest, that a little secret plot twist right at the end for that one was basically like the rose petal on top. It was a very good reveal. And not to mention, Marinette and Adrian almost kissed, and Marinette finally for realsies confessed her love to Adrian. We can only blame Gabriel. And then Gabriel's a prowler meme face. I might actually do something about that later. Oh boy. Either way, that's it for the video. My name is Sampo, and I'll see you guys next time. Now, what other episodes are we going to be watching? Or at least for me, you guys watching for me to review? Who knows? But I'll say this right now, the majority of episodes after this episode are still in a different language, so until they are released in English, I will be reviewing them. I know the finale is already out there, but just be patient because I want to watch the English version. And hopefully it'll be before I come back to college. Until then, take care, and yeah, go watch episode season 5, and go watch season 5 because Jesus Christ, it just got much more better in terms of writing, at least in my opinion. Not that good, but much more better, even though there are some bigger plot holes now, at least to what I saw. Oh well.